No. This is not relevant to anything that we're talking about tonight. Butch Jones crying on the field because he beat an unranked team that finished 7-5.
Good times. Good times. Welcome to the podcast. This is your Scruffy Ginger Pod, and I'm your host and your Scruffy Ginger, Matt Graves. On this week's episode 11, we have my best friend from high school. You might have thought he actually didn't exist. I talked about him a lot, and he is finally here. Jimmy Fanning. Jimmy, welcome to the pod.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Didn't think we needed to show that trigger footage from 2016, but
but what went through your head when that happened? Because let's just refresh everybody. You guys had just thrown a Hail Mary right before that.
We had.
And
Jacob Eason, R.I.P. Shout out Jacob, won the Apple Bowl today. As of when we're recording at Washington.
You know, it's not relevant. I mean, Tennessee. Now,
we did win 41-0 at Neyland Stadium next year, to be fair.
I don't remember that. Your dad asked me to ask you today if you were excited that you had played Tennessee at the schedule that you did this year before we went on our little hot streak going on.
Yeah, that's Tennessee can have those moral victories all day long. I'm sure you guys would go toe-to-toe with both us and Alabama since Guarantano got his act together. But
that sounds about right.
Last I checked, we won that game by 29 points.
Now,
almost as many points as we beat the Jags by this week.
A nice transition to what we actually are going to be talking about this week. This episode is not sponsored by Michelob Light. However, that is what we are drinking on the pod today.
Yeah, I literally didn't know this beer existed. I've only ever had Michelob Ultra, and I told my dad that I'd like to drink Michelob, and he came home with Michelob Light. So,
what is the difference?
I have no idea. It's a different shaped can, but it tastes pretty much exactly the same.
I think it's the same beer. I think they just put it in a different can.
Yeah.
Just to have
I think that might be true. It's good enough. Close enough.
All right, so a little quick background before we get into the Titans this week. Jimmy is probably one of the sole reasons why I became such a Titans fan, inviting me to go to games growing up in middle school. And so we have him to thank for that. We had some pretty, average seats growing up. Where do we sit again?
They're good seats. They're in section 135. They were.
Nobody knows what that means.
Well, I'm taking Jess to a game in 3 weeks. So if she listens to this, I don't want to give too much away because she doesn't actually know where they are yet.
We needed binoculars. Let's just say that
they're pretty fun seats. They belong to a company that my dad worked for growing up, and then he was able to get his hands on them when the company moved on from having season tickets. So they're fun seats growing up. We went to a lot of really fun games. A lot of games against the Colts. I remember it because we had a lot of friends also that were big Peyton Manning fans. Mm-hmm. So that was always kind of a hot ticket. And we've seen, some pretty good players play together over the years.
Yeah. No.
Tennessee Titans legend, Vince Young. Legend. Hall of Famer.
Also probably. Jake Locker. Can't forget about him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, Jess, they are great seats. Actually, this is another great excuse for you to listen to the entire podcast because I think at some point I talk about these seats. So go on, dive in, sit back, get you some popcorn, and just turn on the Scruffy Ginger Pod. I think it's episode 2, maybe 3, or 1. I think it's 6.
Listen to them all.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Subscribe, and share. This is the first time we've had somebody in person, which I'm super excited about. And that's kind of the hope moving forward that we'll do that. Are you bored?
No, sorry, my watch beeped.
Checking your watch? Dear Lord.
Just checking it out. I got people reaching out to me.
It's not only like the only guest I wanted to have on the show or something, thanks for that. But yeah, no, so, we are, the Titans are in a really interesting spot right now because not only we are in the hunt for the wild card spot, but we are definitely in the hunt for the division lead as well. We're only one game behind going into the Colts, and they've like T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack are not playing.
Yeah, that's huge. I saw T.Y. was ruled out yesterday, I believe.
That dude always has like 200 yards on us.
Yeah, he's always consistent against the Titans. And he missed like 4 games and then came back for 1 and I guess re-injured himself. And now he's out again. Yeah. So I don't know if he's just a fragile guy or if he's having a tough year, just one injury that keeps repeating. But, thoughts and prayers to T.Y., but I'm not terribly sad that he's been ruled out for this week. Yeah, I hope he makes 100% recovery on Monday morning.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, sure. Thoughts and prayers. No, but definitely excited that he's going to be out. Now, if they still beat us, then it's like
then there just might be a curse of the Colts. I thought we were going to break it this year. I was sitting in Taco Mat because I live down in Atlanta, so I always have to go to sports bars and stuff to watch the Titans because it's never on local TV. But, I was talking trash to everybody in the bar. All my friends are Falcons fans. None of them care about the Titans, but I was talking trash anyways about how this was our year with Andrew Luck retiring. I honestly thought that us playing the Texans late in this season twice would be to our advantage because I thought Deshaun Watson would – there it is.
There you go.
There's that Michelob Light. I thought that Deshaun Watson would be hurt by now, not – wishing that on anyone, but
J.J. Watt's injured though. That definitely always happens.
Yeah, I mean, the later in the season that you can play a team like that, just the more attrition and stuff there is. So I'm okay with how that's set up. And then we went out and just laid that goose egg against the Colts in week 2, I believe it was, right after we had come off destroying the offseason Super Bowl champs Browns.
Yeah.
Thought that would be more of a win to hang our hat on than it ended up being.
Yeah, we just ended up doing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean,
we have kind of found our stride since Tannehill took over for sure.
Tannehill's been balling.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
I mean, we're 5-1 with him, and that one game. What was the one game? Was it who cares?
I don't choose to remember the games that we've.
Yeah, we actually don't.
The Titans run out of time before they end up winning.
We don't ever lose games. We just only win 9 games.
Exactly.
That's how the Titan seasons go. We never actually lose the games. No, but how do you feel? Like, are you sad or upset that we never got the chance to beat Andrew Luck, or are you more just like, no one actually cares about that anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fun to beat him at least one time. I think that's if I'm a Colts fan, that would be a pretty neat statistic to have or anything, but at this point it was just such a curse that I'm just happy to have him not in the picture anymore. I'd much rather take a Colts or a Andrew Luckless Colts than keep banging our head against the wall trying to break that curse.
Yeah, that's kind of how I mean, I think initially that my thoughts were like, oh, okay, now we're always going to be the team that he went like 12-0 against or whatever it was. But then I was like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that stat anymore.
I don't think either of us are a big enough market for that to be, if Tom Brady went 20-0 against some team or something, that might be something he'll have forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the Titans are a big enough market for people to necessarily care about that. It was the Panthers game that we lost with Tannehill.
Oh, we were at that game,
We were at that game. Maybe we should stop going to games.
Well, we went to Dallas last year.
That's true.
Huge flex.
Yeah. And looking back through the season, I'm just scrolling through right before. I mean, God bless Mariota, and I think he'll always be, a great Titan. I always have a lot of fond memories, especially of the Kansas City playoff game.
That was awesome.
But, oh, man, before we decided to pull the trigger and move to Tannehill, it was rough there on offense for a few weeks. I mean, I'm looking at this back-to-back Bills and Broncos loss where we scored 7 points in 2 weeks.
I don't think there was, much of an offense. It was the thing that Mariota, and I think that he'll find it with a different team. He'll find his confidence, and he'll find his stride because he is a good quarterback, but he had no confidence with us. And it just seemed like he was told to throw more instead of run, and then when he had the opportunity to run, I think it just seemed like he was. It's like, no, I got to throw it, and the pocket just kept collapsing on him. Just time after time.
Yeah, it was exhausting before Luan came back. And even after he came back, it took him a while to get his act together because he was playing like doo-doo when he first came back. And he's started playing better now. But between the penalties and the missed blocks and stuff, even those first 4 weeks before he was back, I mean, it was exhausting to watch our offensive line just flail around out there and not block anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he was at least, I mean, I guess every player would do this, you would think, but like he was actually, when the media addressed him after he almost lost us a game, I forget which game it was, but it was like he committed 2 penalties in a row, both that converted first downs, and then we had to punt, and it was like towards the end of the game, I forget which game it was, but anyways, at the end of in the locker room, he just beat the press to it. He was like, "Listen, I know I've been killing our team, blah blah blah," and he owned it. So, I mean, I love the one. I got his high quality China jersey. This past offseason. So, I mean, I'm a big fan, Jimmy.
I'm a big Luan guy. I have a Luan jersey, too. I think he's a good player. I think he'll continue to be good for us. I think it was after the Chiefs game that he did that.
Oh, yeah.
That game was awesome. That game was fun to watch.
I mean, we have shown, again, because we're such a small market team, nobody ever watches us. I don't think, with maybe the exception of the Ravens, I don't think there'd be any team that was like, yeah, bring them on. We'll play the Titans. I mean, we're kind of a scary team right now because our defense is playing really well too.
Yeah, that is the thing that I think our defense is going to give us a chance to keep us in any game. And I'm glad that our offense is kind of starting to find its groove because there's some guys down in Atlanta that I've met and have started watching Titans games with. And at one point, towards the end of the Mariota era of this season, I just looked over to them and I was like, man, our defense is so good. And that was like all I could say. It's just our defense is like top 5 borderline elite, and our offense just can't do us any favors. So it is exciting that the offense is starting to find its groove. And I think that our defense is always going to keep us in a game, within a couple scores. And you always feel good, especially if it's within one score, that Henry is just always a threat to break off a long run, really at any given time.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Henry, he's first in the league in like 3 major categories since like week. It's one of those stats that you're like, what did an intern bring that up or something? But it's like since week 14 or 15 of last season, he's first in like every major category, like rushing touchdowns, rushing yards. He's just killing it.
And he does just tend to get stronger as the year goes on. It's like a lot of running backs. You worry about their bodies breaking down or anything like that, but he just seems to – and he was that same way at Alabama. I mean, he had an ungodly amount of carries his last year at Alabama and just seemed to get better as games went on, seemed to get better as the season went on. So it is exciting to watch, and I think part of that is especially late in the season when it starts to get cold, especially if you play away at a really cold weather, nobody wants to tackle Derrick Henry when it's 20 degrees outside.
Yeah, no, and there's so many people that are, they're banged up, but they're still good enough to, healthy enough to play, and they're thinking about that. It's in the back of their head when they see Derrick Henry, just running full speed at them. So no one wants to tackle him. What about Dion Lewis? Because there was so much hype when he came in, and he was such a big part of our offense that he's like. He might play definitely less than 10 snaps a game.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to try to move him this offseason. I think we signed him to a 3-year deal, and it's been 2 years now. So I think the way a lot of those are structured, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's probably not a ton of dead money if we were to just cut him. We'll probably try and move him in a trade. But I think at this point, watching our offense, to me, it would be pretty clear that the long-term plan is to give Derrick Henry, a fair market value contract, which I think that like the gigantic Todd Gurley contract, I think has probably maybe hurt him a little bit because Gurley has just way underperformed since then. So that may be an opportunity for the team to get a little more team-friendly deal, but I think we'll extend him, 2 or 3 more years and move on from Lewis. And then I don't know if we'll try and draft a running back and, roll with the rookie, or if we'll sign someone in free agency to just a 1-year deal or what. But to me, this is Derrick Henry's team at this point when you're talking running backs. Yeah,
I mean, he's definitely – him and Luan are I would say the faces of the franchise, at least on the offense, is concerned. And, with Mariota, you got to think that we have a treasure trove of money that we were going to give to Mariota. Like, he's not worth a top-tier quarterback. Well, I guess, let me say this. He had the opportunity to perform this year to get that contract. He clearly did not. So we have that money that we have allocated for him. I'm just like, just give that money to Derrick Henry. Like, give him, I mean, I don't even care. Like, make it kind of ridiculous. Give it like, a 4 to 5 year deal. Give it close to like, how much was Gurley's?
Gurley's, I think, was like 5 years, $60 million or something like that. And I'd feel a little better about giving Henry that than I would if, we had a Gurley on the team, just because Gurley, even going back to his days at Georgia, as electric as he is and how fun he is to watch, he always has been a little bit injury prone.
Yeah.
And Henry is just one of those backs that it's like our generation's Frank Gore, which is funny to say that Frank Gore's in the last generation because he's also in this generation because he's going to play until he's like 100. But he just seems to be a guy that is just very, very durable at the running back position, which is hard to find. So I think any NFL team, would leap at the chance to lock that up. And he seems to be pretty, happy in Nashville, and seems like if we give him a fair deal, he'd stick around. So I wouldn't be terribly against a long-term deal. I mean, at least 3 years, up to 4 or 5, depending on the structure and the money and everything like that.
Yeah. Whew, here we go.
It's both of us. Jeez.
Yeah.
This beer is bubbly. Maybe that's the difference between the light and the ultra.
This beer fucking sucks. Yeah, so I mean, listen, next year's his contract year, right? Because this is his 4th year?
I believe so. And this is his 3rd year, but we only get 4 years out of him on his rookie deal because he wasn't a first-round pick. That 5th year option that Mariota's on this year only applies to first-round picks.
Did not know that. It's good to know. So, regardless, he's going into his contract year. And just don't even let him hit the market. Like, pay him this season. I don't understand why that can't be a thing. I mean, what's his face? Ramsey basically got paid. Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's going on behind the scenes. I mean, I guess that's why those players have agents, is that they're probably wheeling and dealing all season long. And Henry, I mean, all he can do is show up and work and continue to put up those good numbers, and as long as he stays healthy. But, I mean, I don't see a world where he's not a Titan next year unless something crazy happens. But, I mean, unless J-Rob is of the mindset that running backs are truly a dime a dozen and you should never pay an elite running back, which you could make that argument, but I think when you have a guy like that that's a known commodity, you need to keep him on the team. And I would imagine he's, priority 1 to have on the team next year in terms of guys that are in a contract year.
Yeah, no, I think so too. He did come from New England, and they don't cherish running backs at all. They just cycle them in. It's a continuous revolving door. Now, he's been out of that system for, probably 6 or 7 years. So he's with Tampa Bay for a couple of years. But, I don't know. I mean, and even in this situation, I would be kind of upset if there was a team that was willing to pay as far as draft picks are concerned, like an ungodly, like basically selling their farm for Derrick Henry. I can see J-Rob making that move.
I don't think we could acquire draft picks for him, though, because I think he's a free agent next year. Right? So I don't know that we have the rights to him in order to trade him.
I don't know if, you can do, draft picks.
I think the player has to be under contract for the next season.
I got you.
And so I'm not sure. My understanding, this could be totally wrong, but I read an article about it 4 years ago and just took it at face value. I think that this year he'll be a restricted free agent, which means that he is free to sign wherever he wants technically, but whatever we offer him, whatever anyone offers him, we have the chance to match it, and he has to sign with us if we match it.
I got you.
And I think whatever we offer him, another team has to beat it by 15% or something like that. So, I mean, unless some team is just willing to sell the farm on, think that they're a running back away from making a Super Bowl run or whatever, like I said, I don't see a world where he's not a Titan next year.
Yeah,
I think he will go to being the true face of the franchise now that we're clearly moving on from Mariota. Who knows what the quarterback position will be.
Yeah, he's clearly given the Titans media coverage, and people love talking about Derrick Henry. You just have to keep him around. He's never gotten worse throughout a season. Like, he hasn't had a bad season. Mm-hmm. Now, his first year, he basically split carries with Dion Lewis, but, yeah, I mean, he's been just a monster. I guess last season it was the first half where he was underperforming, and then it was Eddie George that had a talk with him and just snapped him out of it and said, "Dude, you're not going to get paid.
Yeah,
if you don't start performing, they're going to cut you. Why do you think they're going to keep you around? I mean, it's probably good for him to hear since he's been pampered his entire adult life. That he is this walking god of football. With being Heisman at Bama.
Yeah, it almost feels like it's the first time in his life he's had any. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything, but had that hardship or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, just adversity.
Adversity. That's the word I was looking for.
And it just. Yes, I think he'll stay. I think he'll stick around. One, because he's still under contract, but I think we'll pay him. I don't know what that contract looks like. I feel like for him it makes sense to do like you said, if it was a 3-year deal, it'd be worth a lot of money. That way, if we're out that kind of money, it's only for 3 years, and then we can, maybe trade away somebody to help get some of that back. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a scholar on how free agency and trading and salary cap and how all that works. But I feel like maybe do a 4-year deal in the neighborhood of 50, and then go from there.
Yeah, and I think one thing that would allow us to maybe put an extra year or two on that contract is the fact that we can realistically say at this point that I don't think J-Rob, because he comes from that Patriots tree, is going to be one that's going to go out and pay a gazillion dollars to some free agent quarterback to come. We want to draft and groom our own quarterback, so we're now to the point where it's going to be next year, if not the year after, that we're going to be drafting our next, quote unquote franchise quarterback. It'll be our fourth one in 12 years, and it obviously hasn't worked out. But I think that we can realistically say, if we go out there and make the right pick and we have a guy that we're finally going to sign to a second contract and pay him $100 million, we're 4 to 5 to 6 years away from actually having to pay that money. So we're a little more free to pay Henry this offseason versus if, say, Mariota was a third year, so we still had 2 more years for, there's a chance that he could all of a sudden turn it on, and then, we just paid Henry $50 million, but we got to find Mariota $100 million. How are we going to do this? We're several years away from that, so I would think that would make our front office a little more generous.
Yeah,
knowing that we're realistically going to be on a rookie quarterback pay scale for the next several years, other than maybe another 1-year deal with Tannehill.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Tannehill wouldn't even be that big of a contract. I don't know. I can't think of anybody else that we would need to pay in the next, big money in the next 3 years.
Because when you look at the positions themselves, we paid left tackle is Taylor Lewan.
We better cut Conklin, dude.
Yeah, we're going to let him go. I don't think we'll extend him. He's a first-round pick, and he has not performed up to that standard.
His rookie year was his only good year.
Yeah, and he tore his ACL at the end of it, so I don't want to give him too hard of a time. He was very, very good in college. I don't hate the pick based on the information we had at the time, but
right.
It's time to move on from him. It's a business. It is what it is. And then when you look at defense, it tends to be your cornerbacks and your edge rushers that are your big money guys. I don't see Jackson being the kind of guy that's going to get top 5 cornerback money. We've already paid Byard. Yeah. We have some. You have your Harold Landrys and stuff like that, but I don't think he's separating himself as a top 5 edge rusher, $70 million type guy. So I do love our defense. Does kind of have just a group mentality of we don't have this one superstar like a Boza type person that is. So I enjoy that about our defense. It's fun to watch. I think Byard is arguably our best player, and we've already paid him, so we've got that squared away. So I would think, knowing as little as I know about cap space and all that we're in a pretty good spot for the next few years.
Yeah, I think so too. And behind Byard, Logan Ryan has played unreal. I don't know what his contract situation is like, but I don't think he's in his contract year. But the dude is playing like it's a contract year. I mean, he's definitely going to make the Pro Bowl this year. I mean, hands down, one of the top performing corners in the league, and actually definitely finally getting some love.
Jayon Brown's a guy that could – I don't know that he'll get a gazillion dollars like a Luke Kuechly contract, but he's a steal right now. He's a fifth-round pick playing on a rookie contract. So he's probably making less than $1 million a year. So he's one that's playing at a very, very high level that we'll have to set aside some money for him.
Yeah,
but again,
30-40?
Do what?
30-40 for him?
I don't even know if it'll be that much. I mean, I feel like middle linebacker tends to be sort of an undervalued position unless you are like a Ray Lewis, Luke Kuechly type player. So I think we're in a good spot in that like we've kind of spent our money at some of the big money positions. We know we have at least 5 years before we need to pay a quarterback big money, and that's if we even hit on our next draft pick, whether it's a Trevor Lawrence or a Jake Fromm or probably some guy we barely heard of at this point because somebody always seems to come out of the woodwork.
Right.
I almost worry that if there's a point where we're trying to tank for a top 5 pick for like our defense will accidentally win us 7 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's hard to see us just with J-Rob and the way he manages the roster. I think we're going to consistently have enough talent that it's hard to see us having a lot of 1-15, 2-14 years in the near future.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Unless you just have like close games that just don't go your way. No one ever gives us credit, but that's okay. I think the players like that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Well, one more thing about kind of just the season and the roster, and then we'll kind of move into another topic. How would you feel? Because if you didn't understand from the beginning of the podcast, Jimmy went to Georgia University, and
the University of Georgia,
and how
10-1 SEC champs, SEC East champs,
stats,
soon to be SEC champions, playoff team,
stats. What would you think about in like? I don't know how far he's going to fall. Drafting Jake Fromm.
Well, first of all, I think Jake Fromm's going to come back for his senior year because he's in a giant slump right now. So unless he turns it on at the end of the season, which our best wide receiver did break his ankle in practice this week, and he's out for the rest of the season. We are, if you look at the stats of the the breakdown of the offensive stats in the season, we're a totally different offense with and without him. So I don't see Fromm all of a sudden some light bulb coming on with the freshman receiver or anything and him being able to salvage his season because he's playing pretty poorly right now. So I think he'll come back for his senior year. That being said, I don't think Fromm would I love him as a college quarterback. I'll always love like 2017 when he was a freshman, when we had Nick Chubb and Sony Michel back there. It was a pretty special season. I don't know that he would excite me as an NFL quarterback. I don't know that he has that like killer instinct, step on their throat, down 28-3, doesn't matter, gonna like that Tom Brady, which obviously Tom Brady's a once in a generation type guy, but
right.
I don't know how much he would excite me as an NFL quarterback. As a Georgia fan, it would be a lot of fun. But realistically, I don't know that he is someone that would blow me away as a first-round pick. Maybe if he really fell far enough because of his hand size and he's not the tallest guy, if we got him in the 4th or 5th round and treated it as a project, I'd be thrilled. So it would be a value thing to me.
Right. No, I would be upset if we drafted him any earlier than the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, and I think he has no intention of being around that long when he eventually goes. So that's what I think he'll come back unless he's rated a first-round pick, and I don't see that happening at this time. So who knows? Sometimes a year can do wonders. We may move on from our offensive coordinator and / quarterback coach. So, I mean, if he plays at a higher level next year, I'd love to have him, selfishly being a Georgia fan. But
where are you guys at in the standings?
We are in ranked number 4 in the college football playoff. So we control our own destiny going into the SEC championship with LSU. I think that our defense can hold them to 24 or 27 points. I have no clue if our offense can muster 28 or 30 or 10 points against them.
Yeah, because Bama's ranked
5 or 6.
I think they're 6.
Yeah. I'm a big Auburn guy this weekend, I'll say.
You're right.
I'm ready for Bama to lose 2 games and just be out of the picture because the fact that they continue to hang around and have a chance to slink their way in, backdoor their way in.
Well, someone that I know you and I have talked about before, Oklahoma and Jalen Hurts. I think your argument is going to be he's a great college quarterback and maybe not be able to translate to the pros, but I think they're the scariest team to play in the playoffs.
And I think that's fair. I'm coming around to Hurts with the kind of year that he's putting together and just how gritty a couple of the wins have been in Oklahoma. My thing was I watched him play twice when he played against Georgia in the last year, and I felt like he was a super athletic guy, made plays with his legs when he made them, but he wasn't just sitting back and truly playing quarterback and making throws. But like I said, it's 1 year can do wonders when you're with the right coach. You look at Joe Burrow at LSU. You look at him with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. So you said that to me earlier in the year, and I definitely said, I think he's more of an athlete than a football player, and we've already – that experiment has, crashed and burned with Mariota already.
Right.
But I'm definitely would be more open to that. And I think just from an exciting offense standpoint, I think if they were both – went to the draft, I'd be probably more excited about Hurts than I would about Fromm.
Do you think? Oh, for sure.
Not for sure. Easy. It's
yeah. It's well, yeah. Do we draft a quarterback? Do we move up to get a quarterback?
So I think at worst, so we're 6-5 right now. I think
like a top quarterback.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to see us finishing. Worst case to me is 7-9, probably around the 16th or 17th pick. So other than Joe Burrow, to me, I'm not in love with any quarterback in this draft at all. Joe Burrow, I feel like is probably going to end up going number 1. I've never been super high on Tua. I think that he hasn't played well against really good defenses, and he's obviously shown to be kind of injury prone. That being said, I don't know that either one would even be around that long. So I don't know if we take a guy in the 13 to 20 range and go from there. So I think that I've heard Robinson in J-Rob in interviews and stuff talk about the value in drafting a quarterback every single draft one way or another. But who knows if it's, some 6th-round pick out of Washington State, try to get the next Gardner Minshew or something because they've got a senior. I don't see us using our 1st-round pick, I guess, would be the simplest answer to that question.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what direction we go because it seems like over the past couple of drafts we've definitely filled holes that needed to be filled, and it'll just be kind of interesting to see kind of what weakness we think we need. It might be a best player available situation.
Mm-hmm.
With Malcolm Butler being hurt, you could definitely see a corner situation again. And we paid so much for him, way too much for him. But, it's just, it's a broken hand, I think. So, he'll be back next year.
Yeah, he should be back 100%. I would say maybe interior offensive line when you look at just the amount of sacks that we gave up early in the season.
Or maybe a right tackle if we're going to let Conklin go.
That's a good point. I wonder if we won't let Dennis Kelly have a kind of a prove-it year as a full-time starter at right tackle. The dude doesn't suck.
No, he doesn't suck. He's a good filler. It just, I have, an anxiety attack every time he steps on that field.
Yeah. So I will say, shameless plug for the Dogs, being that, most of what I know the nitty-gritty of when it comes to draft-eligible guys is going to be Georgia. So our left tackle is 100% going pro. He'll probably be a top 5 pick. No chance that the Titans get him. Our right tackle is more than likely going pro, and I would be totally okay if we picked him as the right tackle of the future. I think that he's a guy that projects in the bottom third of the 1st round. And then also our left guard is kind of up in the air. He started the year strong. He's not playing great right now. We'll see what he decides to do. But when he's playing well, he's a very, very good interior offensive lineman. And he, to me, would project to be like a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick. So as far as Georgia players, I would be thrilled with either of those guys. And I think their value fits more where I think we actually realistically will be drafting.
Yeah. No, That's a good point. I think offensive line, especially the interior. I mean, we're obviously not going to draft a left tackle, but I'd be fine with, for the first time, probably in my entire Titans career,
it's a career.
Fandom career.
We haven't gotten paid yet, but it's been an unpaid internship for 15 years.
We're waiting.
Yeah.
We're
J-Rob, we know you're a listener, so
we're all next year is always the contract year, so we're always waiting.
Exactly.
I would be totally okay and actually feel really good about taking an offensive lineman with the first round pick. It's just never sexy. It's like dear Lord, it's like we're even taking what's his face in the third round this year. I'm like Nate Davis.
Yeah,
which he's like he's a rookie.
It's almost like a necessary evil of the draft in that it's like you said, it's never a sexy pick, but I do believe that great teams are built from the trenches out. Yeah, so, I mean, your defensive linemen are a huge deal. If you can run the ball and if you can stop the run, you're going to have a chance to win pretty much any game.
Yeah.
And great quarterback play can always negate that. So, you've got to be able to play better defense than just run stopping because any quarterback can, catch fire for one game and defeat that. And then you've got to have a quarterback that can catch fire for one game at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be okay with that. I mean, I don't see a need really in the linebacker area. I mean, when you've got Jayon Brown and then you've got Rashawn Evans and then you've got Correa in there.
And Harold Landry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid group of guys that are all on their rookie contracts.
Dude, we got Correa. He was in his second year.
Yeah.
It was like I was like, how did we
Okay. He's awesome. I did not know that we had signed. Like when he busted on the scene, I was like, did we draft this guy? Did we trade for this guy? How old is he? Where is he from? Like I knew nothing about him. It was not, and I feel like, I keep up fairly well with our transactions throughout the season.
Yeah.
As far as, cutting guys, trading guys, doing all that.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's good. So, and then, I agreed with the secondary and with Logan Ryan, realistically, having already been paid and he should come back Malcolm Butler.
Yeah.
Come back from that injury 100% with a clean break in the bones. I'd say offensive line. We don't need any wide receivers. A.J. Brown is amazing. A.J. literally Jerry Rice Brown.
He's so amazing.
He's so good.
We could go on a whole tangent about that. We're going to wrap things up here in the next couple of minutes. I want to hear your perspective because I believe it was episode 2 or 3 that I talked about my NFL draft scooter accident.
Yes.
Flying on the bird.
Yes.
And I don't know if your reaction is going to, or your take on it is going to be as entertaining as my expectations are, but what was going through your mind, or what your thought process from me that whole night?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought about that in a little bit. So Matt and I that was night 2 of the draft, set the stage. We were able to get tickets on some, whatever that paddle boat is.
It's a riverboat.
Yeah, riverboat. If we have listeners that live in Nashville, you'll know the one that goes up and down the river. And Mike Keith was there, which is pretty cool, announcing the picture of the Titans and stuff.
Yeah.
And we went out after, and my girlfriend Jess was there for a girls' trip for that weekend. They did not know the draft was happening. They were very confused about why the Airbnb was so expensive.
So
and I was like, well, yeah, because there's 1 million people in town. Literally.
Yeah.
So we met up with them. We were dancing, we were drinking, we were having a good time. Matt decided that he was going to head home. I wanted to stay out a little while longer, so we said our goodbyes. He said he was going to scooter. I told him that was probably not a good idea. He told me that that he's going to do what he wants because he's a grown-ass man. So I said, okay.
Did I say that?
No, but you said it with your with your mentality, with your vibe. So I get a call from Matt about 40 minutes later. A woman is on the phone saying, do you know this guy named Matt in Nashville? And I said, yeah. What's up? I didn't really think it was weird that a woman was calling on your phone asking. Yeah.
I have kidnapped him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
I thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, what's going on? She was like, he fell off his scooter. He needs to go to the hospital. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what is my part in all this? She was like, I'm going to take him to the hospital, and at that point, we got off the phone and Jess was like, you should probably go to the hospital. And I was like, I don't really know what I could add to it at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay out and party some more.
Yeah, you did.
In hindsight, I probably could have gone to the hospital, but
as only a great best friend does.
Yeah, but we were in Nashville and it was the draft. I got back to the hotel probably about 3 a.m. Matt's bed was empty. So I was like, it's probably not good. But I was told he's going to the hospital. So I think I called him once or twice and he didn't answer. So at that point I said I should go to bed and see what happens in the morning.
Yeah.
And he was there in the morning. And my dad did say, because my dad was in the hotel room with us. I don't even know if I told you this. But he said that he had to work the next day. So he got up the next morning at like 6 a.m. and was making coffee in the lobby before he was going to drive straight to work in Knoxville. And he said, you walked in at 6 in the morning and you had gauze on your face and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't have time for this. So he just let you go. You didn't see him.
I did not. Definitely did not see him.
And then he called me later that day and he was like, what happened to Matt's face? And I was like, you were already gone when he got back. And he was like, yeah, I saw him in the lobby. I didn't say anything.
Dude, I was looking rough.
I healed up really well. I mean,
it's you can barely see the scar now.
Yeah.
But walking into that lobby, I told myself, because I had come to, obviously, I hit my head on concrete. I was unconscious. I was 100% sober. And
same.
Yeah, just clean that up here.
Yeah. Don't drink and bird, people.
Yeah. Or you could be like me. And anyways, I'm not going to get into that. So I knew, like, walking into that lobby, I was like, just don't even look at anybody. Just walk to the elevator. Don't let anybody tell you look terrible. You have to leave. Just make a beeline for the elevator, and no one stopped me. I was actually kind of surprised because I was
not even my dad.
Not even your dad,
who you didn't even know was in the room.
JT, I have talked about him before on the podcast. I think episode 1 or 2. Shout out.
That was pretty funny. But now we know. Well, I know in Atlanta, I don't know about Knoxville or Nashville, but now the bird scooters don't work after 9 p.m. in Atlanta.
It's my fault.
Probably a lot of cases like that.
It's my fault. There's actually a buddy of mine that I work with. He in Nashville wrecked on a scooter. Like, he was sober.
Really?
Like, he hit a pothole. I guess turning a corner. I don't know his story, but the same thing, full speed, hit like a broken up patch of concrete. The scooter came to a complete halt, and I did not. And it just went flying forward, hit my head.
That's intense. That's scary.
It was. It took me a second to get my bearings, and then I was like, okay, well, like, I never freaked out. I was calm through the whole thing. I felt so bad. I bled all over that girl's seat.
Really?
Yeah, because I got up. And
well, she's probably a listener with this podcast, very wide reaching. So
yeah, she is.
If you're listening, you can reach out to us, and Matt will reimburse you for.
Listen, Jimmy has the money; he'll reimburse you. It's his fault. He did.
It's my fault for not stopping that.
Jimmy is the one that gave me the tequila shot, so we can blame it on him.
Fair enough.
All jokes. Jimmy doesn't drink, neither do I. Yeah. Anyways, that was fun.
If it makes you feel better, I had a similar injury on my hand from when I was running in Atlanta, totally sober on a Monday after work, and I fell down.
Oh, yeah?
And I, destroyed my hand. It finally, it's been 2 months.
Let's see it.
It's finally healed now. You can see it right there. Well, it doesn't hurt anymore. It's not raw anymore, but I literally was just totally sober, just jogging. And I looked at a car that was driving by and I fell down. Pretty tight.
It's pretty tight. Well, we are going to wrap things up. Jimmy, also, I'm just going to say it's your podcast. I know it's you and your buddy's podcast, but go ahead and give it a plug.
Yeah, I do have a podcast if you're interested in mostly Georgia football, also random things, sometimes Mount Rushmores involving Disney movies and Disney songs, big Disney guys on there. Mm-hmm. And occasionally when one of my co-hosts, Will, just gets wild hair and wants to take over, we talk about tennis and very occasionally. So if you're curious to hear how little I know about tennis, American Pylon, it's a lot of fun. Give us a listen. We're on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. So smash that subscribe button.
American Pylon. Go check it out. But if you subscribe to him and not me, I'm going to find you. So subscribe to me first. and then go to American Pylon, subscribe there. Jimmy, we're going to wrap up with one simple question. Did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself?
Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Who did it?
The billionaires.
Billionaires.
The pedophiles.
Oh, the pedophiles.
Yes.
Which pedophile?
All of them. I don't know.
They all did it.
I just know he didn't do it.
The Jacks suck. And thanks for listening, guys. Jimmy, thank you for coming on the pod. And hopefully we will have you back on in the near future. This is your Scruffy
Super Bowl
Ginger.
preview episode. Titans versus TBD.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Titans versus the runner-ups.
We will win. The Jacks suck. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right.
Have a good night.
Go Tits.
Bye.